What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to another video here on the channel. Well, in today's video, I want to give you a quick update on what's happening with the Bitcoin price because things are getting really spicy and you need to pay very close attention to what happens next. And so with that said, let's not waste any more time at all, and let's get straight into the video. Well, over the last few days, things have definitely heated up for Bitcoin. Okay, what we know is that it has been trapped within this structure for the last 4 to 5 months. Absolutely boring, not a lot going on, but there has been a lot happening behind the scenes. Obviously, a lot of news, a lot of whale news, a lot of ETF news, a lot of Germany selling and Mt. Gox movements, but at the end of the day, not a ton happening with its price. But something is approaching and something is about to happen over seemingly the next few days that you need to be very aware of, because if this happens, then obviously things might open up, right? Things might get very crazy. Volatility very likely may pick up and it might get real. So what we're going to be paying attention to is the fact that Bitcoin now seems to be retesting the top side of this macro structure again. Now, this is something that's only happened, let's call it 3 times over the last 5 months. We obviously had the first time we got up here, then we had the second time, the third time, the fourth time, and now the fifth time. Now, one thing you have to understand is that the further into these structures you go, the more likely you are to break out to the upside or the downside, right? You're just in a breakout in general. The more time we spend in this structure, the more likely it is that we will eventually get that breakout. And so, yes, I know it's tried it on multiple occasions, but this was over a month ago. The likelihood of it being more successful here than here is very, very high. Now, in the same breath, what I do want you to understand is that no, although it's not guaranteed that it will eventually break to the upside, it could technically still break to the downside. The likelihood of a macro structure, a macro descending structure at that, breaking to the downside during a bull market is extremely low. We're talking less than 20%, I would say. And so the likelihood is that we will eventually break to the upside here. Then the game is just figuring out if that time is now. Now, realistically, there's no way of knowing. It's genuinely impossible to be for sure whether or not the time is now. But what I do know is how I can approach this and be ready for this and have a good understanding of what is happening with this move. What I am currently doing is I am pausing all Bitcoin purchases at this point while we are now back above $64,000. Now, the reason in which I'm doing this is because, of course, we are now in this little zone in which there is no real guarantee of what's going to happen. Knowing that historically, over the last 5 months, every time we have come back up to this key zone of resistance, we have gotten rejected. It doesn't make a ton of sense to me to be buying while we are directly below it. Of course, yes, it might go up to that zone. And of course, yes, we might see, of course, a 3% gain or 2.5% gain. And then we run into that resistance and risk the possibility that we do start to pull back to the downside. Whereas what I'm personally doing is waiting to do all purchasing if we see Bitcoin successfully break this key level of resistance. And the reason that I would do that, because you might say, well, what's the difference? What's the difference between buying right here and buying right here? I mean, it's so close to each other. It's the difference between 71K and 68K. Well, the difference is the opportunity to the risk. The opportunity that I face right here, of course, is yes, sure, I may be able to buy here, and maybe we go to 81,000, and maybe I do make a little bit more gains than I would if I bought up here. But what you have to understand is that the risk is that I have a major point of resistance sitting directly on top of me. And at any given point, while I am up only 2, 3, 4%, I may get immediately smashed back down to being negative 10% or 5% or 4% on this trade. Obviously not a huge game plan there. I don't like that. Whereas if I do purchase a little bit higher, sure, I'm sacrificing some of the gains off of the macro trade itself. I am now opened up to the door of opportunity a little bit better because I'm not sitting with this massive point of resistance above me. Sure, I'm going to have this resistance. Sure, I'm going to have this resistance, but that is still less resistance than having this trend line sitting directly above me that would, of course, have been rejecting us over the last few months. And so what I would rather do is know that I'm taking a little bit less gains to have a lot less risk by waiting to buy any more Bitcoin once we do inevitably clear this resistance line. Now, does that happen right now? I'm not sure. I have no idea. And all I'm going to do is just sit back, wait, and watch. People make huge mistakes when they try to guess what's going to happen, especially in a bull market, especially with as many macro catalysts as we have. We have the Bitcoin conference. We have Donald Trump stuff going on in general. We obviously have the elections coming up. We have interest rates. We have inflation rates. We still have war talks. We have all of these things that are impacting the price, and there's no way to truly know what's going to happen here. And so the best thing that you can do is try to be responsive, not react. We don't react to things. We respond to things. And there's a difference between reactions are typically a little bit more emotional. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit back, wait, and watch. If Bitcoin's price is capable of breaking through this zone, I am going to open up some long trades with stop losses set below this previous point of resistance, now established as support. If Bitcoin's price does start to roll over here, then obviously I would be doing some dollar cost averaging towards the bottom side, expecting that again, this is another great buying opportunity before we attempt to break out later into the future. It's easy. This is the approach that makes me the most comfortable. It's stable. I'm not stressed. I'm not worried. I'm sitting back, I'm waiting, I'm watching for the perfect opportunity for me to be able to enter in on some trades. And to me, that looks like waiting to see if we're finally capable of breaking this resistance, very similar to how Solana just did quite recently. You saw Solana, of course, break this key resistance, back test, hold support. Beautiful time to be purchasing, and now the thing is already up off of this back test. If you were purchasing here, you are now looking up 10-11%. That's the type of buy that I want, not one right sitting directly below it, where we don't even know if Bitcoin's going to be able to break out here or not. And so with that said, that's just the update I wanted to give you today. We are seeing things heating up a little bit. It does seem as if Bitcoin might finally break the structure it's been in for months, but we don't know yet. So what I'm doing, sit back, wait, watch. And then, of course, I will update you as it does play out. So definitely stay tuned. Make sure you turn on those notifications if you are new here. Like this video if you did enjoy it. And, of course, subscribe, as I mentioned before, so you never miss another one. But with that said, of course, I will update you very soon. And I can't wait to see you next time. Peace out, everybody.